And welcome to the Rotary Club meeting for October 13th, 2021. And that's right, I am the president of the Rotary Club of San Dimas. It has been a great week for Rotary. All the projects we have are going forward. And the next big thing happening is our hockey game, the charity hockey game on October 23rd. If you haven't got your tickets, now is the time. So let's go around the world. We have a couple of people here. We did not wait for everybody to pop in who normally pops in late because we got things to do today. So, who's here with us today? Marianne, introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Marianne Kistler. I am the foundation chair. I have been a member of Rotary for over 25 years, and I am a past president. Proud to be a Rotarian.
Excellent. Hey, Steve, are you there?
Yes, sir, I am.
Okay, introduce yourself, brother.
Hello, everyone. My name is Steve Scott, current treasurer of the San Dimas Rotary Club, past president of the club, member for almost 13 years now, and I am a State Farm agent in San Dimas.
Excellent. Thank you for being here today, Steve, and being on time. And you know what? I'm going to go right with our guest speaker because I think some of the stuff they're doing out there is so fascinating and interesting, and I want to get some updates, and I got questions. So, hey, Patrick, would you unmute yourself, brother, and introduce yourself? Okay, you didn't get the unmute part yet.
Can you hear me?
Excellent.
Great. Patrick Byrne, I'm the executive director at the Armed Services YMCA on the 29 Palms Marine Base. We are celebrating our 30th anniversary of being an independent branch of the Armed Services YMCA. We are actually 40 years old there, though, in 29 Palms. We spent the first 10 years as a part of the San Diego Armed Services YMCA. Like most people think of YMCAs, of course, as gyms and recreation centers and neighborhood community centers. We're more of a social service agency devoted to serving the needs of particularly the young Marine families and the Navy families that are there. We have about 13,000 Marines on base, and we have about 1,000 Navy at 29 Palms. And we do things like early childhood programs. Hello?
Keep going, Patrick.
Oh, I just saw Marianne's name come on. We emergency family assistance. We do things like events to celebrate different parts of Marine Corps life, like the balls that are coming up. We just invited different organizations to come and bring gowns and shoes and things like that for the spouses. We will provide Christmas for somewhere close to 400 or 500 families this year at 29 Palms. We maintain a memorial wall for every active duty member who leaves who leaves 29 Palms and goes off to serve somewhere and doesn't return because they've given their life in service. We maintain a picture and a memorial to that person on base in one of the chapels. So that family and friends can always come and visit them. We provide a food pantry on base. Most people wouldn't realize it, but 40% of our young military families are eligible for food stamps for what they're paid. We maintain a thrift store where families can come and buy whatever they need, or we'll give it to them if they can't afford it. And then as Marines and families are leaving, they can leave behind for the next groups of military assigned there to come and purchase. We realize about $80,000 this year from our thrift store, and that goes right back into our programs. And we also maintain a uniform shop where we actually go get the uniforms from other thrift stores, and we provide them free, up to 5 pieces of uniform per month for any E5 or below Marine or Navy Navy corpsmen on base. So those are just some of the things that we do to try and make military life a little bit easier for military families in 29 Palms. You would, if you looked right now, you would find that unemployment in 29 Palms is about 10%, as it is in the entire high desert, Yucca, Joshua Tree. If you then went to the base and then found out from the spouses how many would like to work but are unable to find jobs, it's about 25%. So you've got 25% spouses on base that would like to work but can't find a job anywhere, plus 10% already unemployment in a town like 29 Palms. It's a 25-mile drive to a Walmart. It's a 75-mile drive to a Target when you're in a place like 29 Palms. So the needs are great. And what we're trying to do is always kind of find a way to meet what the needs are within the means that we have or that we can raise. And we're delighted to be associated with folks in Diamond Bar, particularly the Rotary, the Masons also, the Diamond Bar Women's Club. There are a number of organizations from Diamond Bar have come aboard to help support the military in 29 Palms. So I don't know if that's enough for you, Ray, or if you'd like some more.
Well, I had some, I think that you're out there at 29 Palms right now. And I think some things that are fascinating about that base is number one, its size, its geographic location, and its climate. And I think all that I think we'd like to hear about.
It's the largest base, I think, in the world. It's the size of the state of Rhode Island. And it is the largest Marine training base in the world as well. And it reaches 118, 120 degrees during the summer, easily there. And it's spread out. We have multiple, the living area where, the really it's like a little town. It's not quite a city, but it's, well, maybe a small city on base, because when you get half of those Marines married and Navy married, and then you've got 2 kids, 3 kids, you're suddenly gone from 13,000 to now 30,000. So the base is divided up because it resembles the Middle East, and that's the purpose of having that particular base there in the middle of the desert. It was actually an Army base that was bought by the Marines for $1 40 years ago. And they bought it with the intention of doing exactly what they did. They've built actual cities to mirror what you'd find in the Middle East, so that they can go out and live in the desert for months at a time and encounter train our Marines in what they will encounter when they go out there. And our Navy is divided into 2 groups. We have the group of Navy that manage the hospital and provide the chaplains and all, and then we have the side of the Navy that goes out with the guys into the base, or when they're sent overseas someplace, when they're deployed, that group of Navy go, and they're also the chaplains and the health caregivers, the medics and all of that. So it's a very interesting place. It's something I've never experienced before, and most people who are assigned to 29 Palms are forever changed by it and remember it uniquely. It's certainly not Okinawa or Pendleton or San Diego or any of the other places where Marines could be. So
now it's used place out in the desert, and I'd say 95% of its live fire training ranges.
yes,
You have the extreme heat, the bitter cold, and then the families live there. And then because it's a huge live fire range, as you said, it's miles and miles from essential services for the families.
exactly. Yeah. Like I said, Walmart, 25 miles if you want to get in the car and go somewhere. There are a couple grocery stores close by. There's a Stater Brothers, which is, quite good, but that's the only close grocery store. You'd go further than 25 miles to get past the Walmart to go to a Ralph's, for example. most of our, we have a very small hospital on base. It's good. I don't want to say that it's not good, but it doesn't do any specialties. So if anybody's got any kind of need for medical help, you go down, you go down to the low desert, to Palm Springs, Palm Desert, for any kind of doctor care, because there are very few doctors that have their practices up in the high desert. And we've just created a program where we'll actually watch your children. We'll keep your children for as long as 5 hours while you get in the car and drive down, because it takes 90 minutes to drive down there, 90 minutes to drive back, and an hour sitting in the waiting room. So we call our program Children's Waiting Room, where we'll watch the kids and, keep them occupied and play for 5 hours so that the parent can go down and go to the doctor if they need to and get back without having to worry about having 2 kids or 3 kids or, in the waiting room with them while they're there, or in the car back and forth. The other thing that is unique is if something happens, even on, a major medical problem, when somebody happens, even on base, they're heliported right down to the low desert. They're, it's determined before they sometimes even get to the hospital that it's not something our hospital can do. So they have to go down to the low desert. So one of the things that we do during family assistance is we will put up a family in Hanson House or Fisher House or Ronald McDonald House. Now everybody thinks, oh, Ronald McDonald House, aren't those free? Well, they're generally free, but there is an administrative fee that everybody is expected to pay for per day, which can be anywhere for these places from $15 to $35 a day. We'll pay for that fee. We'll give them gas money to go down there and back, and we'll also give them food cards to get food at Ralph's or Stater Brothers or Walmart, and so they can cook and be with their family in these places, whether it's, like I say, Ronald McDonald House or Fisher House. These places are wonderful because it keeps the family together. The other thing that I would say to remember with many of these young military families is they generally got one car. And that's another thing. When your husband takes the truck, it's very often a truck. They love their pickup trucks. I won't lie. The military loves their pickup trucks, but they'll get in their pickup truck and the husband goes to work, and the wife then and the children are there without a car, for the rest of the day. That's just the way that much of the military works. So, that's one of the things we're working on now, is to try and figure out how to do services with the residences, the Lincoln housing, it's called, that's off base for many of our military families, so that when the husband goes to work, are we able to meet some of the needs of families that can't get on base as easily because they're living out in the housing that's provided by Lincoln Housing off base. So,
Patrick, you said something earlier that I want to make sure everybody understands, and that was that you service primarily those under the classification of E5. That's a universal military in the Air Force, the Navy, the Marine Corps. E5 is a ranking system, and that's enlisted. And 5's not very high, and they tend to be very young people. So E1 would be right when you get into boot camp, you're a recruit, and E2 is probably a private, E3 a private first class, and what do you got, a corporal, and maybe the first level of sergeant. So not very
Lance Corporal, yeah. And I won't lie, we go to E6, and part of what we do is we determine it on, we don't say we go to E6, but we really do go to E6 because the pay scale is so different, so small between E5 and E6, and especially if you've got 2 kids in there or 3 kids. So we don't advertise it, but we really take care of anybody E6 and below. And you're absolutely right. Most of these are young. Most of these relationships are, stressed because, the husband is picked up and moved for 7 months. He can be on a boat someplace for 7 months and the communication's not great. Sometimes I've had women who work for me who do not know where their husbands are going. They're not allowed to say. Sometimes they don't even know. I had one of the women who worked in my office. She was completely clueless where her husband was going because they hadn't even told their husbands yet. They told them to be ready. They took them to an airport in San Diego, and they were all set to take off, and then the mission was called off. So they did not even know before they were they were told what to pack and what to bring with them, but they did not know where they were going. And that's some of what that's some of the stressors that our military go through. And I'll tell you, I have the flu right now. I was a week ago. I was a week ago at an event or an orchid festival, and there was a kid sneezing by me, and I thought, oh God, I'm going to be sick. And sure enough, a week later, I have the flu. But I was all concerned. It was like a COVID case, that one of those creeper cases that they talk about. But I'll tell you that there is a stressor among the military now. Um, with even the vaccine, that's another layer of stressor that's put on them, that some of these guys have been in life-threatening situations, and they've decided that they don't necessarily want to take a vaccine, and their whole career is on a razor edge at this point. So we tend to think that, oh, everything is taken care of for the military. It's not. These are people who, very few people will lay down their life for their brother, but these are people who will, when they're told to be ready to get on the plane or get on the bus or get on the, and have your gear with you, as the Marines tell you all the time, we didn't accept your wife or your kids. You did. We accepted you. You're the one who's on the bus in 2 hours to go. So
You've said a couple of times, and I kind of focused in. I know it's the largest group is the wife, but some of the spouses now in today's Marine Corps are actually men. They're the husbands. Are you?
yes.
And does that bring different problems to the YMCA?
Well, it does. It's interesting to have a class of kids, and we do parent and children classes. And I'd say that there's isolation issues, particularly for men, because when they're the spouse, I think that it's probably very hard for them to fit in with a group of all women. And I would say that we've certainly seen that, and we're going to do a blog on one particular dad whose wife is the Marine, and and he's bringing the daughter to the what would normally we would call the mommy and me classes, but and he's doing a great job, and he's good in his own skin, but there probably aren't a lot of folks for him to connect with during the day. Do you know what I mean? So I always make it a point to stand next to him and make him feel as welcome as I can. You know what I mean? But even in my job, I'm often, until Marines are around for something, I'm one of the few males around, because it's mostly, female spouses. I need to be honest here and say, we've had gay couples, all the things that are part of the outside world are also part of the military. So we welcome and treat everybody extremely well. Um, we want anybody who walks through our door to feel that we have at least tried to meet their need, whatever their need is. And one of the things we're doing right now is Operation Ride Home. We partner with Jack Daniels, a favorite among the Marines, and to send military home at Christmas time. And we'll send probably somewhere between 30 and 35. We'll send entire families home with the gifts that we've either collected ourselves or that that Jack Daniels has given us. And so we'll buy airline tickets for them up to $400 per person and their family, and send them home for Christmas. What I was surprised about is how few people, or how many people, how many military, guys and gals who would be willing to go for $400, but they were going to be home. They were going to stay on the base at Christmas time, but because a ticket was offered to them, or they were able to get a ticket for free, they were going to go, and the ticket was only $400. I thought, I've never had to in my life make that decision for something as small as $400. And please don't think of me as I'm not wealthy or anything. But I have found that that number is gigantic. You know, as soon as I heard that it was available, I'll go for $400. If I can get a ticket for $400, I'll go, you know? So,
You know, one of the
um,
things that you've talked about in the beginning about the YMCA, the Armed Services, and you've been there 30 years. But I think something also that's fascinating is your connection. And what I'm just to add context for people because we're going to be showing this video, your relationship with the USO and how that works.
well, actually, you know, um, we're a branch of the YMCA, and we were actually founded by clergy. And we were founded by clergy because obviously the clergy didn't want the soldiers during the Civil War to lose their faith by particularly what they were going to see and what they were going to experience. And so it began very simply as people going out and bringing coffee and or hot chocolate or tea and sandwiches and then books and then writing letters. And that's what went on really through the First World War. And then we were asked, I forget the president who actually asked the Armed Services YMCA to help found the USO. Now the YMCA's got great attention, like the Boys and Girls Club, and then also the USO's got great attention. But the USO is actually founded by the YMCA, the YWCA, Catholic Charities, Jewish Charities, the Travelers Association, and the Salvation Army. You see the 6 stars on either side of the USO, and those 6 stars stand for all of those organizations because all of those organizations actually put up all the funding and all of the support that went into starting up the USO. The USO is very healthy financially. Um, they and they do great work. But as somebody from the USO said to me, we're the fun part of it. We get to give them hot dogs and ice cream and it's a great place to sit and relax when they're in the airport. On the other hand, you do important stuff, taking care of people who are, whose family are in the hospital or they need food, um, uh, so we work with them when we can on base and in Palm Springs in particular, our particular base. But yeah, they grew out of us. We had a hand in developing the USO, but we're kind of the forgotten group in the back, the Armed Services YMCA. But we quietly plod along and do what we can to make life as pleasant as possible for our young military families.
Well, rather than hog all the questions, I thought I'd turn it over to see if anyone else has any questions of
Sure.
Patrick here, because I've got a couple more. Okay, well, I'm going to go forward with this. Now, what we're participating in is we're the San Dimas Rotary Club, and we're working with the Diamond Bar Women's Club on Making Spirits Bright, which is
Right.
their project. How has that impacted you in the previous years they've done this?
Well, lots of people call us and lots of people even come visit us, and they want to help and they want to do something, and they're excited when they get there and they see everything and they say, wow, I want to do something for someone. Now, how that whittles down, I'd say it's probably about half. And so when we first got the call from Making Spirits Bright that they wanted to help, it's like, okay, well, come see us, come talk to us, and let's see what we can do. And so not knowing anybody, we go into it with a great sense of hope. And so we got into this relationship with the Diamond Bar Women's Club, and it went from, okay, we'd like to help 30 people, and then we'd like to help 40 families, and then it was 50, and then by the time the thing was finished, it was 70, I think, and then it was 10 single Marines, where I think it was one or maybe a couple of women from the Diamond Bar Women's Club said they would take care of single Marines. And, everybody got a $50 gift. The husband and the wife and all the kids each got $50 gifts. Well, it was absolutely amazing. But I would say to you, Ray, I was truly touched. I paid more attention to the single Marine gifts because I was thinking, like, what's this going to be? Like, I'd like a basket full of booze or something. You know what I mean? But I mean, I was impressed with with these 10 Marines, they asked for sneakers, or they asked for a sweatsuit, like a pair of sweatpants and a sweatshirt, or self-help books, or like making yourself better as a budgeting, and making yourself a better managing your own money. I was edified, and they didn't even spend like the whole $50. Do you know what I'm saying? It was like they were touched by this. They got they asked for the gift they wanted, which was, like I say, half of them chose books, and nobody asked for anything ridiculous, and I was really touched by that, that these guys who could be gone tomorrow to a place like Afghanistan, and would ask for something as simple as a pair of sneakers for Christmas. Amazing,
So
amazing.
at our at the hockey game and the Marine Corps dinner twice, we're going to be selling tickets to our raffle tickets, and also we, by the way, have sold some sponsorships in the program, and that money is going to go directly to the Armed Services YMCA, as what I like to say is undedicated. In other words, we're not going to tell you what we're going to do with it, but if you get a little bit of money from us, what are you going to do with it? What plans you got?
Well, one of the things I'd like to do is fund a program called Operation Hero, which is taking, so many of our programs have been cut because of the pandemic. And what I'd like to do is take a group of 15 kids from the lower grades and 15 kids from the middle grades, and do a an afternoon program after school, because we don't have after school now because of the pandemic or anything. But do a program where the kids can come in, they'll have a little bit of a snack, and then they would use they get some help for homework with a professional. I'd hire a teacher, but also have Marines there, and then do something physical, because the complaint from everybody is because they didn't have gym for a year, and there just wasn't the kind of activity, because everybody was in the house, everybody's put on the pounds. And so part of what I want to do is, whether it's movement or sports or dance or whatever, is do something during that 2-hour period of time in the afternoon that's physical, at least 30 minutes of that's physical. I would say also, the program that never has enough money is the family assistance, so that we never turn anybody away, but we don't always give what we'd like to give to somebody like that. We make decisions about, do I give a $50 gift card to get gas? Well, we do that if the hospital stay is short. If the hospital stay is longer, it's $100. And then if it has to be renewed because we've had 3 sets of twins born this summer. The military is very prolific, I will tell you. And 3 sets of twins was really something, but all 3 of those sets of twins ended up in neonatal. And so the families were down there, and some things are reimbursable by TRICARE, which is who does the medical care, but some things aren't. And also, you're waiting for 2 and 3 months for reimbursements on things, and it makes a difference whether you can fill your gas. And you were on base, right? You would see that um, the gas on base is at least as expensive as the gas off of base, which is a strange thing. I would have thought the military would have had gas cheaper in the gas stations. Not so. Um, I haven't gotten into why, and I'm not sure that I care to know why. But the reality is that the same stressors that are on our young, fragile families outside are also on these young families on the inside. But these are people who will lay down their life for you and for me and for strangers at the drop of a hat, is the bottom line.
So, just anybody who's watching this, because we are going to be sending this video out to people, those sponsorships in the program and those purchase of the raffle tickets at the hockey game and the Marine Corps dinner will go to, in part, funding your programs. And we've got set in February of this year, February 14th, we'll be doing our food drive again, and your pantry is going to be our beneficiary. And so we're kind of excited about getting a bunch of food up to you.
Wonderful. We love, the greatest part is when the food pantry is filled by other people from other places, because it fills it with lots of things that were different from the last group that fill it. You know what I mean? We have a group that comes from like Havasu, and they concentrate on things like, they're always bringing things like laundry detergent or personal care items, and then another group will concentrate on shave cream and stuff for guys, men's deodorant, things like that. Another one focuses on canned meats for us. We'll end up with canned hams, and we'll get canned tuna fish and canned chicken and things like that. And we're delighted that for anybody who decides that they want to support the food pantry. We don't call it a food. We call it a food pantry when we're talking, you and I. We call it the Pelican Shop, and you've been in it. We try to make it look like a little store. People come in, it becomes a destination place. Actually, we've got cold water outside, and we've got tenting for people to relax under, and people come in and they take what they want. It's not ever a bag of dented cans. I would not do that to the military. I wouldn't do that to anybody, but I certainly would not do that to the military. Give them the cast-offs of someplace else. I try to put the best that we possibly can in front of them, because we feel like they deserve the best.
Well, Patrick, I am so grateful for your service and grateful for you being here to provide us with. I know by our members' look on their faces that they're learning a lot of stuff they did not know, and that's pretty cool. So before I let you go, one last chance to ask Patrick questions. We'll go drink plenty of fluids.
I
Right?
will. I will tell you that, is fortuitous because, today's meeting, we're burying today Anita Neufaltz, who was the director, two directors before me. And she was really the builder of the Armed Services YMCA at 29 Palms. And she was a remarkable lady. So my assistant is up at the funeral in Whittier today at Rose Hills, saying goodbye to Anita. And, you know, I, I would say, Ray, it's people like you, it's people like the Sandismus at Rotary, the Masons, the Women's Club, and then the Marine Corps League, all these other groups, the American Legions, the faithfulness of all these groups that actually care about our young military is really quite beautiful. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart. But I also want you to know that they're grateful. Uh, the military are very proud. Uh, but I know that even the ones you've interacted with, Ray, I know you were touched even when you sat and had lunch with some of the military who you met while you were on base. They take your breath away in a sense by their simplicity and um, their willingness to do whatever it is they can to serve, which is truly impressive. So thank you for what you do for us.
Thank you, Patrick. Go get some rest, brother, and we will be seeing you at the banquet at the hopefully the hockey game. I hope you're able to make
Yes,
that.
I'm going to come to the hockey game also, and I plan on bringing, if I'm well enough, I expect to be well enough by then. I plan on bringing some folks with me. So can I call you offline and talk to you about that, Ray?
Absolutely, please do so.
Okay, thank you. God bless you all, and thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. So that was Patrick, and we don't have a fast craft talk today, but hey, let's go to finds. Would anyone like to find themselves today? To begin. Oh my. Well, I'm going to find myself, but you know what? I'm going to find myself. I had the weekend in, if I can pull it up here. I don't know where it went to. I was going to tell you, I spent the weekend in San Francisco at the Masonic Annual Convention, and we had a great time. It's generally what we do is, if you were going to adjust your bylaws and then celebrate all the different things that went on through the year, it's a big convention. And there you are. That is myself at the after party, one of the after parties at the Conga Room in the Fairmont Hotel. And so I'm going to find myself $25. And that's basically $7.50 for each one of those drinks that's in front of me. So I had a wonderful time, and I'm glad to be back. So anybody else like to find themselves? Okay.
I'll throw out a fine of $5. I don't really have much to say. That was a great presentation, and every time I came up with a question, his presentation answered it. It was, well, what's the biggest need? What's needed in the pantry, and he just kind of touched on everything. But yeah, it's pretty remarkable to get a glimpse of um, the basic needs that aren't being met for our young servicemen and women out there.
If I went out there at their invitation for a tour. If at some time in the future any of the Rotarians want to get together, we can arrange another tour. We go to 29 Palms. They take us all throughout the base. It's a guided in a van. You can't really get out. And then they take us to lunch, and it's really super educational and fascinating to drive down the street and here's 300 Marines in a live fire range with mortars, and here's guys firing tanks off, and here's guys firing off their rifles, and all of the different things that are going on out there. And then there's all these families that are in this other portion, so it's very interesting.
Yeah, I'd definitely be interested in that. I have been on base one time. One of my old audit clients was a construction company, and they had some government contracts on base. And um, part of a financial statement audit is to go on site to make sure that that project exists. So I was able to go out. I drove out to 29 Palms and was given access to the base.
Oh, very cool.
To see the projects that were in process. But yeah, I didn't get a tour. I just essentially, they said, that's the wall we're building.
Well, he covered all of our projects we've got going on because the major things coming up are the raffle, which we're still working on. If you need tickets to sell, please let me know. The dinner on the 10th, the hockey game on the 23rd of October, the dinner's on the 10th of November, and teacher mini grants. Steve did send me the letters. I have not had the opportunity to review them, but I will this week, and so we're on course for getting that also in the works. Does anybody have anything else before we wrap up? Okay, that's it. Everybody have a great week. I will see you next Wednesday.